Not many people realize how versatile a poached egg is. Right now I have one going and I don't think I got the cyclone correct. No, it's just gonna look like an extremity from the egg instead of be wrapped around it. Right now I'm skimming the top from the foam that's created whenever you make a poached egg. It has a lot to do with the temperature that you start the egg at and how much vinegar you have in your pan or in your pot. If you add too much, the vinegar actually solidifies the egg a little bit and breaks it apart and draws out God knows what from the egg. Probably you could compare it to milk, something sort of like milk solids, like a sort of the protein that you, well, protein fat that you draw out of milk during pasteurization. So I'm basically skimming off the whey, the egg, after I added too much vinegar. But this excerpt's actually about what you can top a poached egg with instead of having it plain in the morning. An easy solution to get your eggs soft, if you're cooking them quickly too, and not how you're supposed to, which is slowly. This one I'm actually cooking too quickly. You can see it's boiling and it shouldn't be. But adding a little more vinegar will actually loosen up your egg and it won't be as tight if you cook them, if you're in a hurry and you want to cook them quickly. So back to how I said I was scooping off the whey, the egg. Instead of the whey, compared to a milk product being a fat, as in a fat with mineral value, but not the type of mineral value that's in an egg, because the cow actually eats grass and the chicken will eat grains, so the mineral value changes. In milk, the whey would be it would still be not really a toxin, but it could cause a disease in the body from how the body reacts to when you consume it. But there's a different type of fat in milk that isn't in an egg, so the whey of the egg is gonna basically not be full of a palmitate fat, or the same palmitate fat that's in grass, because it's a grain and not a plant. It's a plant when it grows, but after you chop it, it's a grain. So the way of this compared to milk, and I'm talking about WHEY, not WEIGHT. I'm gonna turn this off. would be composed of a little bit of fat, but when grass breaks down inside of a cow, it's turned into something more with a higher caloric value, since cows actually have to produce milk to feed their young as well. Chickens don't. So basically what I'm trying to explain is the difference between the way the egg, whenever you cook it out, and pasteurization is also a cooking method or a heat method that's used to take out impurities. But the way the egg is going to be a little more, it's going to have different type of mineral in it. And you can see how much the water cleared up after I scooped all the whey off. So the way pasteurization works with milk is they eliminate some of the milk. I'm going to say milk lipid protein or milk fat protein. By heating it. And when you boil your egg and it produces the type of whey that I just scooped off, it's actually the fats and proteins being distorted by the vinegar. And vinegar is it's a distilled product. I'm trying to think of what you do to make vinegar. Distilled just means I'm not really sure, it doesn't say much on the label how you make vinegar. But the point of this was to actually show you different variants you could get out of a poached egg. I got a little carried away with the pasteurization in milk and whey protein in egg that's drawn out from vinegar if you add too much. And just by doing this, I've learned that you can actually come out with a softer poached egg if you add more vinegar and you're cooking it at a high temperature, if you're not doing it the correct way. And then all you really have to do is throw that in a microwave. Hopefully I can decipher out a better way to explain what happens whenever whey separates from the egg when you're making a poached egg and you add too much vinegar. The conclusion that I came to within the 30 seconds that it happened was that the acid in the vinegar separated some of the lipid fat protein that the egg contains, that the albumin contains, maybe even gaining that from the yolk and not having it within the albumin itself, but just from the albumin being surrounded by the yolk, it picks up some, it would draw in some of the fats that are contained in the yolk and actually form a film over the white itself. And you're not going to be able to see this with the naked eye, but once the vinegar hits it, it's separated from the white part, or the albumin, after the cooking process starts. So the fats and oils in the yolk are actually a little bit of a toxin to the albumin, and I know it's hard to separate the albumin and the yolk and see it as two separate identities to the egg, but that's true. It's just like a fingernail to a human being. So the conclusion with the whey separation that happened during the cooking process is, one, I added too much vinegar, and the step of adding too much vinegar led me to realize that eggs can be pasteurized, and what's pasteurized off the egg when you add too much vinegar is the protein fats, or the fats that are trying to actually mix with the albumin but don't, but they still create a layer on top, and that layer separates when you add too much vinegar, and the organism that's allowing the fats to actually hook onto the albumin on the surface of it anyway are eliminated when you add that much vinegar. And I'm going to go back to the main point, which is adding toppings to hard-boiled eggs. The cheese is actually just starting to melt now from the egg being hot, and I just made this little maneuver. I have my toppings on my toast, and I just flip the toast right on top of the egg. I don't want to do that now because I'm not going to waste the topping on the toast, because I'm going to eat that on top of the toast as well. But an explanation of the versatility of a poached egg in the kitchen, and I got into a little bit of the separation of the protein fat or the fats contained in the yolk that actually hook onto the albumin from it being so close to the yolk, and what actually allows a release of that specific organism in the fat that's contained from the yolk, once again, that tries to enter the albumin but can't, so it stays on the surface. And by adding vinegar, you allow that protein fat or whey to be removed